Hey, on today's show, more Ageless Chat Fest from the podcasting world. Hi, I'm Marquita Curtis Haynes. I'm the CEO and the founder of the lifestyle brand Ageless Glamour Girls. I'm also host of this podcast of the same name, the Ageless Glamour Girls podcast. So happy that you're here with us today. In any day. Last week, I introduced you to Ageless Podcasters that I met at Podfest Expo 2024 in Orlando, Florida. Now, in addition to learning so much stuff about podcasting, it was fabulous. Believe me, you have to go. Thanks, Buzzsprout, for the invite. Thank you. But you also meet so many great people and you learn so much about the industry. It's great. Now, so that was last week's show. 10 Ageless Podcasters. This week's show, I'm going to introduce you to some more women who have some wonderful, interesting businesses who I met at the Podcast Expo. But I also met a lot of Ageless Glamour Girls Rising, those under 50. And I didn't get a chance to talk to them on camera, but I did meet them and talk to them off camera, off phone, whatever you want to call it. And they have podcasts, and I learned about their podcast. So what I did was I reached out to them and asked them, last week, I'm like, hey, do you mind sending a clip in? Because this is what we would have discussed at the expo had I, taken that step to interview you. And of course they say, yeah, sure. And I do have pictures of those women as well, but we just didn't get anything on camera. So get ready. We're going to start off with the Ageless Glamour Girls, and then we're going to move into Ageless Glamour Girls Rising. You got it? Check it out.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us. My name is Joanne Weiland. Weiland when you can fly. I'm the founder of LinktoExpert. The reason I created LinktoExpert is so that you can find an expert, check out all their credentials, and hire them to do what the parts that you're not either wanting to do or like to do. Because why shouldn't you focus on what you love and do what you love and do what you do best and let the rest for everybody else that does that well? And can you imagine all the possibilities that you didn't have to take years to find something, to figure something out, and that you could have it done in a couple of weeks because they already spent 10 years learning it and perfecting it, and they could just have it created for you right away, depending, of course, what it is.
Right.
But it's all about collaborating and working with each other and everybody to focus on what they do best and imagine all the new inventions that we will come out with. Thanks again, Joanne Weiland, LinktoExpert. We appreciate you.
All right, thank you. Oh, you're trying to sneak out. We have one more question. So that is what your podcast is about also. That was your podcast, correct? A weekly podcast, a monthly?
It's weekly. We have the LinktoExpert Business Showcase where we feature these different experts. But the other show that's also weekly is the LinktoExpert Goodreads Author's Corner. Okay. So when you wrote a book as well as being an expert, we also talk about your book, because so many times people don't realize it, but they really should have a book. And the reason being, we actually have 181 streams of income you can create, but most of the time the foundation should be your book. So look at LinktoExpert.com. That's LINK2TO expert, EXPERT.com, and you can find thousands, actually 86,000 blogs, articles, videos, podcasts, you name it. And we thank you for sharing.
Okay, I have one more question. This is all great. One more question. What are your thoughts on this wonderful aging, ageless journey?
I think it's fabulous. And I actually call it that we're, just you're as young as you feel. I mean, because of the fact that I feel like I'm 25. And I think it's a mindset, number one. And the number is just a number, but just go have fun. And again, when you go back and do what you love, you are going to feel younger. You're going to have more energy rather than like with me. I am not good at what my co-host, Cece Schatz, does, for an example. She is the behind the scenes as well as in front of the camera, but she knows how to do the production and everything. That would make me crazy. I would probably look so old so fast if I did that, because of the fact that it's not my thing. Right. So I really feel like being ageless is when you do what you love and love what you do.
Love it, love it. Thank you so much for sharing all this with Ageless Glamour Girls. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Veronica, CEO and founder of PurpleitUp for domestic violence awareness. And we're advocating back to a thing that people like to they see it, but what do they do when they see it? Is everything. So we're out here increasing awareness on domestic violence. It's where awareness is everything, and prevention is the key to breaking the silence on domestic violence. So not only are we advocating and helping victims get to their next step and making sure that they're not alone and know it, but what do they need to do to go through it? And outcome is being victorious.
Yes.
Not staying the victim.
Right. Love it. Yes.
And knowing that there's more purpose within their life and they're not alone in trying to figure it out. So PurpleitUp for domestic violence awareness is a real huge thing, because the month of October, we see a lot of pink for breast cancer, but where's the purple?
Right.
And
I love it. Yes.
We want to increase community awareness in every city, state, continent, because this is a global awareness initiative to increase awareness for domestic violence. Because the more we get that conversation, the more we're going to outreach to that one that's listening, and they're going to know that they're not alone. So imagine seeing October looking a little bit different, pink and purple. And surely that will be a physical, visual confirmation of that victorious wave in action.
Love it. Love it. How did you get started?
Well, I always worked with the community in dealing with social services, providing resources for family and business needs. And I saw it, and I consulted people through their situation and started advocating. Lo and behold, after 10 years of hospice, of caring for my mom and dad, and they're making it to glory.
Right.
I sat down and I was seeing God is my time. I want to go on with my life, and finding everything out about relationships and waiting to be married one day. And lo and behold, 3 years later, found myself dating and didn't have any question about who he was and what we were supposed to be for each other. But unfortunately, that was short-lived. He turned out to be domestic violence. And because of who I was married to, the money, the power, I was a victim of domestic violence. And it's not a typical thing where it looks like you're getting stabbed or punched or bruised. Everything else it was. And that's the thing that I realized, the gap and the conversation that needs to be had, and the awareness that needs to be up, because it's not what it looks like. And I find myself not getting the help because of who I was and who my status or all of that. And I was subject to the silence because of the other side of the things he had to answer to.
Right.
So not having any financial ability or going through financial abuse on top of that, I was limited on getting the help, the financial support of a lawyer. I couldn't do anything. And I was asking, seeking, knocking, but everybody was telling, it was like they were here, but there was no action. Then I began within myself, I'm not going to let the next person go through what I've been through. So PurpleitUp began, and even the layers addressing the issues of domestic violence and surviving it became a thing upon my heart to simply PurpleitUp, because I'm thinking, I know people wear it and I know they have a choice in doing. And it's a choice to act, to follow through. Don't just be a bystander. Don't just be a listener and oohing and ahhing and, praying and patty caking. No. God requires action.
That's right.
And so PurpleitUp is bringing that action to increase awareness, to provide that advocacy where it needs to be, where no one's got that feeling of feeling alone and that they don't have help. There is help. Just speak up and encourage people to speak up. What's in your gut?
That's right.
That's a voice of victory there. That's an indication there's something that needs to be done.
That's right.
So creating community awareness, we have a fun way of doing it through our Don't Drop the Ball challenge that we do on domestic violence to keep awareness up. And that's the icebreaker to any community, any business, to have the conversation started. So we're encouraging people to do that, to help as PurpleitUp for domestic violence awareness everywhere.
I love that. And where can we go to find out more about PurpleitUp?
Yes, PurpleitUp.org. We're there. You can click on Get Involved.
You can click on support, donate right there from the website, and for us to have a conversation and bring the conversation to you via Zoom or in person. We're looking for people to accept the challenge to support and stand up for PurpleitUp for domestic violence awareness.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for taking out the time of this wonderful, wonderful Podfest.
Yes.
And sharing all this great and very insightful, important, crucial information for the Ageless Glamour Girls community.
Yes, and remember, awareness is everything, and prevention is the key to breaking the silence on domestic violence. And we're on a mission to do it at prevention, not only at crisis.
That's right. I thought, love it, love it. All
Thank
right.
you for having me.
Thank you for joining me. All right.
You're welcome.
Bye-bye.
Purple it up.
Purple it up.
Bold, beautiful, brilliant. And now it's time for the younger crew.
Hello, everybody. My name is Kiona Nessenbaum, and I am the host of a podcast called Birth as We Know It. This podcast is dedicated to recognizing the many different ways that birth unfolds. I interview birthing people, partners, birth workers, providers, as well as family members or anyone else that was in the birth space. And I created this podcast with the intention of bringing together the community and the village of those that need to be around birthing people. And I want to bring the birthing person to the forefront of the conversations when it comes to birth. I also really am so intrigued in hearing all of the birth stories and experiences that people share with me on this podcast. It is a birth story and experience podcast, so I am talking to individuals about what it is that they have experienced during their birth and potential things that they would change. But instead of just talking about only the birth story, I love to dive into the entirety of it all. So I talk to people about the entire journey from beginning to end of, well, not even true beginning or true end, but I talk to individuals about conception, pregnancy, birth, postpartum, all of the things. And we get into the details and we get into why people decide to do what they do. We get into where people birth, how people birth, and it's just so exciting. I learn something new every single time, and I can't wait to hear my next guest's story. When it comes to what I look forward to as I become an ageless glamour girl, I am currently 30 years old. And one of the things that I really look forward to is kind of getting out of the shadows of those that I care for, meaning I have 3 beautiful children, and I'm so excited to watch them grow. And I'm not in a rush, but I know that once they are all out of the house, I still have so much life to live. I still have so much purpose. I am not yet in my prime of my life, and I am excited to step into my prime when I have the more of an opportunity to focus on myself. Now, am I in a rush? No. I will enjoy the journey of getting me there because that's the whole purpose, right? Is to enjoy the journey of getting older in the number of years that you live. But I am also a true believer that age is just a number. You can't expect to be 40 and crippled, So I remember when I was in high school, I thought that 25 was old. And I had all these dreams of where I was going to be when I was 25. And here I am at 30 with so much more to do in my life. So I am very excited. And I think that this will happen. Like I'll start to be in the beginning of my prime when I'm in my 50s, because there's so much that happens. And I'm actually seeing right now in my parents that they are in their early 50s and they're starting new chapters in their lives. And I love that so much. And I'm looking forward to being there one day as well. Now, if you want to find the Birth As We Know It podcast, you can go to birthasweknowitpodcast.com, and there will be all of the information about me, what I do, my background, and who can be on the podcast. I also have a private Facebook group for those that are listening to my podcast. And if you want to request to join, you can go to birthasweknowitpodcast.com/Facebook, and all the info will be there. If you want to find me on Instagram, you can go and search Birth As We Know It Podcast, and I will pop up. So I am super excited to be able to share this with everyone as an aspiring ageless glamour girl. I am so looking forward to meeting you all up there and just being on this happy journey, because you will just be more ageless, and just you will continue to have so many tips to give me, and I'm super excited. I love the Ageless Glamour Girl podcast. I'm already learning so much, and I'm looking forward to learning more ways on how I can age agelessly. So thank you so much, Marquita, for offering this position here for me to share my podcast. I met you at Podfest earlier this year. I met Marquita, for all of you listening, earlier this year at Podfest in January of 2024, and she is so amazing. I am so excited to just continue to be connected with her and to have us support each other as we grow. So thank you so much. Bye.
Hey guys, how are you? So I just want to go ahead and introduce myself for those who don't know me. So my name is Erykah. I have a podcast called Take 30. I live in the Tampa Bay area, the Sunshine State. And on the podcast, I talk about ways we can manage anxiety. So that means I talk about, some of the tools that helps me whenever I'm feeling anxious, such as therapy, mindfulness meditation, or even yoga. I also talk about my own personal struggles with social anxiety. So as long as I can remember, I grew up as a very anxious child, and I would not talk to anybody. I would just kind of isolate myself. So it wasn't until 2022 when I started therapy for the very first time. I also have guests come on the show, and they talk about their own personal struggles with anxiety and how they were able to manage it. So the goal of the podcast is to destigmatize the conversation surrounding mental health. And I really want us, as a society, to start having those tough conversations. And really not be afraid to, ask for help whenever you're struggling with your own mental health. Because I believe that taking care of your mental health is just as important as taking care of your physical health. So that is the goal of the podcast. So where can you find me? So I am on all social media platforms. So I am on Facebook. So simply type in the search engine, the Take 30 Podcasts. I am also on Instagram. You guys can find me at the Take 30 Podcasts. And you guys can follow me on threads.net. And threads.net is the new Twitter. It is simply the Take 30 Podcasts. And you guys can follow me on TikTok, which is take.30.withErykah. So that is where you guys can find me. Also, my podcast is streaming on all platforms, all social media platforms. So you guys can find me on Spotify. If you guys want to listen, you guys can find me on Apple Podcasts. You guys can find me on Amazon Music.
Hi, my name's Alyce. I am owner of Thrifty Rose Thriftique, located in Jacksonville, Florida. I actually have two podcasts. The first one is called Hiyz and Lowz with Alyce Rose, and that's where I talk to business owners, entrepreneurs, anyone who has a story to tell. We talk about the highs and lows of how they got to where they are. So that's my first one. That's kind of going to convert to a monthly podcast. So I'm very excited about the changes there. The next podcast is called Auntie Outside. Auntie Outside is a podcast about just the generational shift, right? I'm a millennial, and we are now the aunties and uncles of the generation. Like, we're responsible for the cookouts. We're responsible for keeping the family together. And how are we going to navigate that? How are we going to be cycle starters instead of cycle breakers? How are we going to end generational trauma and curses? It's on us, and it's our time. So that's what the new podcast, Auntie Outside, is going to be about, as well as local events around Jacksonville, Florida. Stay tuned for that. It's going to be launching over the summer. I'm very excited about it. And while I'm not quite ageless glamour girl age, I am so excited to get there. I have a lot of friends in their 40s, 50s, and 60s. They are the epitome of style and grace and wisdom. And I truly look up to them and value our friendship and how they mentor me. And it's really an amazing thing. I'm looking forward to more life in my 50s. Being able to explore and travel and go and do and see all the things I've always wanted to see. My kids will be grown. So my kids will be grown, and it'll be time for me to have a second chance at life. So looking forward to that in my glamorous years. But if you'd like to connect with me, you can find me on all social media platforms under Miss Thrifty Rose. That's MSTHRIFTY Rose. Miss Thrifty Rose. Such a pleasure as always, and stay glamorous.
Don't you just love youngins? Oh, is that offensive? Can I use that word? To me, it's a term of endearment. I love that word. Anyway, don't forget to follow all of these fabulous women. Follow, subscribe to their podcast, all of that. And of course, don't forget to subscribe to this podcast, the Ageless Glamour Girls podcast. There's so much more to come. So much more to come. We're just getting started. I love podcasting. And I love the podcasting world. All right. Now, you've been listening to the Ageless Glamour Girls podcast, where we talk all things aging on this wonderful transformative journey. And the only thing that's off limits is politics. That's right. No politics here. Now, if you want to join the conversation, email us at info@agelessglamourgirls.com. That's info@agelessglamourgirls.com. We would love to hear from you. And don't forget to check out, I almost forgot to have it in my hand. Oh, here it is. Don't forget to check out our new book, Ageless Glamour Girls, Reflections on Aging, featuring 12, I make the 13th person, women talking about their ageless aging journey. And trust me, it's so relatable. You would really like it. And don't forget to check out our private Facebook group on, it's called the Ageless Cafe. We're also on Instagram and other platforms. And, I screwed that up. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 5, 4, 3. Don't you just love youngins? Wait, can I use that word? To me, it's a term of endearment. I don't know. I like it. All right. Anyway, don't forget to follow them and subscribe to their shows, and follow the other women as well. You've been listening to the Ageless Glamour Girls podcast, where we talk all things aging on this wonderful, transformative, but sometimes challenging, but fascinating journey. We talk everything but politics. That's the only thing that's off limits. If you want to join the conversation, email us at info@agelessglamourgirls.com. Again, that's info@agelessglamourgirls.com. And don't forget to check out our private Facebook group, the Ageless Cafe, and go to our YouTube channel, the Ageless Glamour Girls YouTube channel. Yes. And we're also on Instagram and other social media platforms. And don't forget to grab a copy of our new book, an Amazon bestseller, I might add, Ageless Glamour Girls, Reflections on Aging. It features 12 wonderful, wonderful, fascinating women sharing the details of their ageless aging journey. It's so relatable. It's so relatable. Trust me. Oh, and we're working on volume 2. So if you're interested in joining us for volume 2, send us an email at info@agelessglamourgirls.com, info@agelessglamourgirls.com, and put in the subject line, volume 2 book, or ageless book, or something like that. Whatever you feel, whatever's the shortest, because who has time to do all the typing, right? Who has time for that? Now, And tell us, once you get our book, because you're going to get it. Once you get our book, leave us a review. We want to hear what you feel about it. Trust me, these women, they write some great stories. Yes, indeed. Now, again, I'm Marquita Curtis Haynes. I'm the founder and the CEO of a lifestyle brand, Ageless Glamour Girls, and I am the host of this podcast, the Ageless Glamour Girls podcast. Thanks so much for being with us, everybody. And don't forget to subscribe to the podcast of the women, and of course, subscribe to the Ageless Glamour Girls podcast. Follow us, send us love, all of that. Here's to healthy aging and joyful living, and we'll see you again real soon. Bye-bye for now.